San Francisco's always been outlandish and pace-setting, but for many this Baghdad by the Bay is now becoming Aberration City, where anything's tolerated. Certainly its unquestioning permissiveness draws the unattached, beckons the dreamers and the lost to Castro, known here as the Swiss Alps, where across a score of years, tradition's giving sanction to new habits in the Golden West. And today, in this homosexual capital of the world, even the police department's about to go gay. Homosexuals are the most isolated yet pervasive of America's minorities. Kinsey's Institute estimates 13% of all American males and 5% of females are homosexual. Yet of these many millions, gay leaders believe only 1 in 100 has come out of the closet. But San Francisco is home for 150,000 gays, or 1 in 5 of the population, so here it's quite another scene. This sociological phenomenon has its own rituals and dress code. Gay semiology is flamboyant. The careful display of earrings and handkerchiefs and keys, all signifying some sexual tendency. Worn on the left, aggressive. On the right, passive, and so on. Since in this lifestyle there are no families, those without hearth and home tend to go out, and so turn the place into a Tivoli of small bars and cafes. Life is lived on the streets. The superior spending power of gays without family responsibility, without dependent spouse and 2.2 children, has allowed them to colonize and revitalize whole city areas. They first became visible here back in the 50s in an outburst of gay bars. In 77 came the first sign of political muscle when a homosexual candidate was voted in as a city supervisor, and in 78 the first gay civil rights law was passed. Now, although not an official minority, San Francisco's decided to make room for representative gays in its most conservative body. And in these bars, recruiters of the Gay Outreach program post their leaflets. Gays are now wanted by the police. So soon these chaps may be par for the force. The first police department in the land knowingly to recruit homosexuals. Though there's no compulsion for a would-be gay policeman to declare himself, 7 openly gay men and 7 lesbians have been accepted in the first 3 classes now training.
Fine. You guys have any problems out here?
Meanwhile, male and female officers have been assigned to regular police liaison work with the lesbians and gays of Castro.
Okay, have any problems, give us a call.
The need for police to be reinforced by gay cops was seen to be urgent when this scenic city was hit by one unimaginable night of violence. A politician and former policeman in this city by the Bay, Dan White, had assassinated the Liberal mayor and the gay leader at City Hall. His bizarre courtroom defense of diminished mental capacity, induced by the consumption of junk food, was successful, and despite what appeared to be 2 premeditated murders, the court reduced the charge and found him guilty only of manslaughter, so he could be free and back on these streets after 5 years. At that verdict, the inner rage of the massed gays was unleashed. 50,000 took to the streets in the so-called White Night riot, burning and looting. City Hall suffered £250,000 worth of damage. They set fire to 14 police cars, injured 65 officers. It was gay power indeed. Afterwards, the police closed ranks against their own chief for lack of command and slow reaction, and he was dismissed. Soon after peace descended upon City Hall, the assassinated supervisor's seat in local government was taken by Harry Britt, a divorced gay activist and former Methodist minister who, after consistently criticizing the police, had become the recognized gay spokesman.
These are people who want to be police officers, and they are aware that what they're doing is going to take more courage than the ordinary police officer. But I know these people. They want to be cops, and they will be good cops. People see only a stereotype. They don't know that their cousin, that their grandfather, that their minister, that their banker is gay. And when they realize that, when they see us, when they see that they're gay people like there are left-handed people, the stereotype will go away and the acceptance will be there. It's not what we do in bed that makes us different, it's society's attitude towards us that makes us different.
Society's attitude is most uneasy during the annual prance of the Gay Day Parade, another display of gay power which the 4 out of 5 San Franciscans who are not homosexual see as defiant and rather resistible. The chief of police removed after the riot was Charles Gaine, a liberal who'd already inaugurated the recruitment of minorities.
In this country, this will probably be the first police department that has knowingly and very assertively undertaken to recruit gay persons as police officers. There'll be some resistance to change, but then once they are hired, as with women being hired and with minority groups, persons being hired, when they get here, and if they can operate effectively as police persons, outside of being just gay, for example, then they're going to be accepted in time. Now, it's going to take quite a while, but they will be accepted.
San Francisco's police, so far still heterosexual, say, "In God we trust, everyone else we check out." And not even those benevolent liaison officers play good guys all the time.
Do you have any ID on you with your picture on it?
No, I do not.
Do you drive?
How old are you?
No, I do not drive.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
You're required to carry ID after you're 18.
My ID was in the room at the
No,
time.
I see.
You don't carry any hand grenades on you or anything like that?
I have no bombs. You can check me for weapons.
Last guy that told me he didn't have a gun had a hand grenade in his pocket.
The last guy who told me he didn't have a gun had a hand grenade in his pocket, says the officer, which seems one good reason to check him out.
That's good.
A storekeeper reported a man with a dog shoplifting, but when police arrive, passing gays instantly set up their cry of police harassment.
Yeah, let's go, man. Right, go home. Please. Go back and look the rest of your friends. Go down, go home, man. We don't bother you. We don't bother us.
Call us, we'll call you.
He may wear his handkerchief on the right, but he doesn't seem all that passive.
You know, one person that starts yelling like that will attract enough people, so, you know, it really is dangerous for any police officer trying to do any kind of work. Because all you need is somebody that starts yelling, and there are enough people that have been down here drinking and stuff, and they start getting, you know, all excited and come around to see what's going on, and pretty soon everybody starts yelling, just like they did now, you know, the go home, go home.
Yeah. Now, is that guy going to be as lippy as that if it was with a gay officer, do you think? Or would that ease it down?
I don't know. How are they going to know who's gay and who isn't?
Yeah.
Unless they wear a little button saying that they're gay or something. I don't know.
Yes.
You know,
Until you have a secret sign, as
right,
it were.
because, you know, somebody with the uniform is somebody with the uniform. And they don't like the uniform, obviously.
Police recruits are learning how to handle that kind of paranoia on an 18-week training course devised by Mimi Silbert, a New York criminologist.
I think that there will probably be more difficulty in acceptance within the police department than there will be community acceptance. But to exclude pockets of people who know the problems that they face and know the city is to make a very weak, exclusionary, elitist group which ends up having no understanding of the society with whom they must work. Crime used to be contained so that there were a small handful of bad guys, and the good guys were all represented in the police department. They were all white, they were all Irish or Italian, and they considered the bad guys to come from the minority communities, and their way of handling them was to arrest them or shoot them. Now, life's got, exactly, it's very neat and compact. Life has gotten more complicated, and it's important that we bring into the police department the people who come from San Francisco, who are black and tall and short and Latin and green, whatever they be, they should be represented, and that you really can't solve crime by arresting everyone, losing the case, turning them back on the street, arresting them again until you finally end up shooting one.
Another informed observer, a former convict and junkie who spent his childhood robbing people and shooting heroin, John Meyer founded a rehabilitation centre here 10 years ago, and since then's been helping social misfits and expressing strong views.
The fact of the matter is very clear. We need some gay police simply because we have 150,000 gay people who interrogates them, who understands them. You know, just as we need Spanish-speaking police because we have 75, 100,000 Spanish-speaking people, and a guy comes in and speaks to you in Spanish, you have to know what happened to him. He might be confessing the assassination of the president. There will be some very rotten, stupid gay cops, and there will be some very decent, humane gay cops, and the category should be good cop, bad cop, not sexual orientation. As with everything else. I mean, we have some very wonderful Irish cops who bring little children to the priest. We got some real grafter bums who would do well to walk in front of a bus that isn't on strike.
David, 45.
We're responding to a call of an 800, which is a crazy person. And there's been 2 calls on it, so communications...
All types of police hate responding to family fights because they get attacked from both sides. This call's from a householder exasperated with a pair of gay lodgers. Just the kind of neighborhood row the new gay cops may be able to unravel.
Yeah, wouldn't you know it? Couldn't come to the front door, you stinky ball.
Well, wait a second. Come here and talk to me a minute.
Sir, would you come here, please?
Come here. What's the problem?
Yeah, tell me what the problem is here.
I bring my women home. I bring my women home. I bring people home, people that I'm moral. I happen to be a moral person. That's an immoral person, and that's a terribly immoral person.
Take it easy.
Okay, has he been drinking at all today? No. Do you think? No?
I want him out.
Okay,
I want him out.
Do you live here? Just take it easy a minute. Just take it easy. There's no reason to be upset.
And he said he was going to leave too.
Just a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
All right, exactly what happened with the knife?
Well, he was hollering. All the neighbors heard it. He was hollering, and he was threatening us with a knife. He said he would cut us up if there weren't laws.
Okay, just hold on for a minute, please. Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Calm down.
Okay.
I'm the one who started the trouble.
Okay.
Simply because those 2 people are 2 of the most immoral people you've ever met in your life.
Okay.
They're so unbelievably immoral.
Do you have your house keys with you now? Hey, wait a minute, calm down. Do you have your house keys with you now?
No, they're inside.
Okay, why don't we go inside and get your house keys with you, okay? Okay, wait a minute. Get your house keys.
Look at there.
All right, fine. Get your house keys, will you please? Just calm down and everything, all right?
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What we've asked him to do, and we'd also like you to do also, is just, you know, take a walk, calm down.
But he has got to get in there, and he can't get in there with a raving maniac.
He's got a knife. He's coming at me with a knife. He's walking up and down the halls with a knife.
We've calmed him down a bit, told him to go for a walk, and that's all we're concerned with right now.
You haven't done anything.
That's all we're concerned with right now.
Okay, we haven't done anything.
That's his house, he lives there. Okay.
You were here. Goodbye. You were here.
For heterosexual cops, handling gay family feuds is just not rewarding. One of the first recruits from that other minority, women, and now working undercover, Officer Maureen considers the imminent arrival of gay police.
I don't think they're going to work. I don't think they're going to work because emotionally, I'm not a psychiatrist, but having dealt with gays as being a police officer, going to their family fights when it's a boyfriend-boyfriend fight, their emotional level is usually very high. I can't imagine a gay just dealing with the everyday problems and stress of police work. I look at the gay population in San Francisco, and I don't know exactly what the latest figure is. It's like 150,000 gays in San Francisco. And I look at that figure and I think of all those potential husbands shot down the drain. And I can't imagine them in San Francisco in a patrol car.
Someone who can is a gay activist formerly in the Sheriff's Department, Les Morgan, who masterminded that gay outreach recruiting campaign.
We have no specific numerical quotas or goals that we're trying to achieve. I will be satisfied if we get even half a dozen people on the force over a 3-year period, because that will be a half a dozen more than we have now. The point is not to get openly gay people, lesbians and gay men, on the force, but to have the force stop paying attention to the subject. It's the police that are obsessed with sex, not us. So what we're saying is, don't automatically start out by saying that we are automatically unqualified simply because of what we like to do in bed. And the fact that what we like to do in bed is different from what you might like to do in bed. That's not job related. So don't refuse to let us enter the competitive market for the jobs.
The president of the Police Officers Association, Bob Barry, has another attitude towards gay expectations.
They want to have appointments to every echelon of the police department, and they want them now. It's not going to come now. You know, my philosophy on gays is no different than it is on blacks, Hispanic, Asian, or women. I don't believe in quotas. I believe in that the department should represent the makeup of San Francisco, the ethnicity of the city, and we should be seeking qualified candidates to take such a difficult job, not based on their color, and certainly not based on their sexuality. Sexuality's got no part in the police department, and it should not be a prerequisite for entry into this particular type of career. There are gays in the police department today. I know that for a fact.
In the closet still?
Yes, they're well in the closet, and that's where they want to stay.
But they're certainly not in the closet in San Francisco's Sheriff's Department controlling city jails, where a dozen deputy sheriffs are openly gay, as is their sergeant and gay recruiter, Evan Zapata.
We are not going to deny anyone entry into the recruitment program, but there are certain people that you might see that are maybe a little bit flamboyant or outlandish that probably wouldn't make good police officers, and they will probably be rooted out during the exam process or see that perhaps it's not the career they should be seeking.
Now, what is the effect of a uniform in a gay bar?
To some, I guess it represents a macho image, and that's a turn-on to some in the gay community.
Frank, do you think you'll be able to handle the idea of going on patrol with a gay officer sitting beside you?
Right now, probably not. I'd say most of the male officers are against it. That it isn't good for peace officers, and the fact that emotionally, many of them are unstable. There's crime in the gay community just as there is in any other community. Gays deal in drugs, they deal in prostitution, they deal in strong-arm robberies, grand thefts from one another and so forth, burglary. They're just as susceptible to a criminal lifestyle as anyone else is.
Yet the gay community sees the Vice Squad as its main enemy within the police. At the last city elections, gay candidates campaigned for the squad's abolition and won 66,000 votes, though 109,000 voted against the idea, and the Vice Squad survives. We're off to arrest two men suspected of organizing a homosexual ring preying upon young boys.
We're going to serve a arrest warrant on a subject that we've been investigating for quite a length of time. He was involved in child prostitution, possibly pornography.
Now this guy's an ambulance man.
Correct.
And there's some suggestion of drugs as well, narcotics?
In one of the original allegations, it was said that he gave drugs from the ambulance to juveniles, dispensed them from the ambulance, brought them home, gave them to the juveniles prior to sex acts.
Okay, he's coming right there. Let's wait. Let's wait. Wait. Hi. Hold on for a minute.
Yeah.
San Francisco Police
Have
Department.
On you?
We have a warrant for your arrest.
No.
Just turn
They're
around.
not from here.
Hey, cuffs too. We have a warrant for your arrest. My partner advised you the charges and your constitutional right.
And you're under arrest for 3 counts of 2888A, which is oral copulation. 2 counts, 286A, sodomy on a juvenile. And you have 4 counts of 647B, soliciting for prostitution.
Does this have to be done on the street for the...
We can do it right over here.
We can do it right over here if you want.
For the good of the service or city, anyway?
Yeah, okay, why don't you wait right here?
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. You cannot afford to hire a lawyer. One will be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish.
Okay.
Do you understand each of these rights?
Yes.
Those who question the gay recruit's ability to handle this spectrum of police work doubt whether they'd cope with this kind of duty. Society here has always been preoccupied with the protection of children and the homosexuals' attitude towards them.
Oh, tell Cat. Book me.
Come on.
Well, I'm under federal.
You got her. Why don't you sit down here? Sit down, Don.
you want me to, I'll go run him.
Yeah, why don't you run it there and see if I can get it.
When's he walking the streets again?
Well, theoretically, if he could make the bail, or if they can get a judge to reduce bail, he can walk out in the next 2 hours. And the reason sometimes you have a lot of homosexual activity with males is predominantly we have a large gay population, and it's a sellable commodity. And so they get involved. And,
Especially that last guy. I mean, he's an ambulance man in a good guy uniform, isn't he?
That's right.
Now, we've arrested one. Who are we about to arrest now?
He's a registered sex offender. We arrested him 2 weeks ago on sex-related charges with minors for oral copulation and having sex with young boys and pandering.
What's pandering?
Making boys available to other men, setting up dates for sexual favors for money. Put the hose down, will you?
Yeah, I'm putting it down.
All right, put it down. You're under arrest. Okay. You know who I am. We have a warrant for your arrest.
All right.
Okay,
Can I get out of this?
Charges. That's all right. Just turn around. Let Sue handcuff you.
Can I look at it?
In a minute. Just, we got to handcuff you. Put your hands behind your back.
I want to take this off and put my jacket on.
We're going to handcuff you, okay? Yeah, that's yours. Come on, let's go, George. God, you're going to hurt your hand there. I just wait there, okay?
Hi, these attention to orders.
But whatever the public attitude towards its thin blue line, it's the men and women in these station lineups and out in the black and whites who'll have to work with gay officers, and their lives can depend upon their partners.
Who knows? I may have worked with a gay. You just don't know. If a person was obviously gay, where they were just walking around holding, would come into work and kissing their boyfriend goodbye and goodnight on the back here of the station and then walking down, I think it'd turn my stomach, personally speaking.
Would you be happy to be on patrol with a gay male officer?
I don't know. Just as long as it's not obvious, as long as the guy doesn't have pink hair and long fingernails and swishes all over the place, you know? I mean, that would be kind of embarrassing.
So it's not really the gay's mental attitude you're worried about, it's just his appearance.
Well, his appearance and his demeanor, I think that if he was that type where he'd wiggle around and talk in a high voice and have a limp wrist and all this type of thing, I think it would bring discredit upon the department.
San Francisco is going to go on the direction that its population wants it to go. You know, if they're going to have us all wearing, you know, purple tights, well, so be it. This will be the will of the population, and we work for the city. I think as far as I'm personally concerned, and I'm sure most of the cops feel the same way, as long as the guy doesn't make a pass at him in a radio car, I don't think it's going to make any difference one way or the other.
I saw there was an officer writing in the paper the other day saying that he wouldn't want to share a locker room with
I read that,
homosexual.
Yeah. I read that, yeah. He said he wanted a separate locker.
That's right.
Well, I think that's absurd.
Now, how are all these radicals, these new radical recruits, going to cope, I wonder?
They'll change.
They'll change.
They all change.
They all do.
A cop for 17 years with unchanged views and 3 medals for bravery, Officer Bill sees his values threatened by gay lawmen.
The things you have to be aware of as a police officer is whiskey and women. I mean, they're going to get you in trouble and lose you your job. So how about these gay people who's one of their main aims, at least from the homosexuals that I casually know and know of and have met in the business, their idea is constant conquest. I mean, they're constantly out to new conquest, new sexual conquest all the time, and a great deal of their thought processes are given over to that idea. The reluctance of policemen to ride with somebody that's obviously gay, how does he contend with the expression later on if his partner tells him after 2 months that he's been hungering for his body for 2 months, late at night? And I mean, how do you handle that sort of situation? And you go into a room where there's a beef in a homosexual bar or something, and here's 4 or 5 guys you slept with. Well, then, aren't you compromised then? I mean, how do you go ahead and enforce the law?
You see, they say that the police force must reflect the community it serves, and if the community it serves is 1/6 gay, then 1/6 of the police department ought to be gay.
Well, if that's
true... By
that
argument.
Well, if that's true, if 1/6 of the community are criminals, must we have 1/6 of the police department be criminals? And how about the clergy? We've left them out. I mean, there's quite a few religious here. Let's say 1/60th of 1% is religious people. Then must we recruit a priest or a nun, perhaps? And you know, that's not a valid argument, I don't think. Luckily, I consider myself normal. But I'm not going to downgrade somebody else who hasn't had the same breaks. But by the same token, I don't want to have to put my life in their hands. You see, because some politician who's in an oak-paneled room drinking hot cocoa at 9 o'clock at night says I have to. If the politician wants to come out and go after the armed bandit in the alley, hiding behind the garbage can, shooting a .44 Magnum at me at 3 o'clock in the morning, and make that decision, fine. So you can't have people that want to take up this vocation because they do something in bed that somebody else doesn't do, you see? You have to have certain qualifications in order to be given this power I discussed, to pack a gun and have this power of life and death, which you may have to utilize at any time. They are trying to say that a policeman is a job. It's not a job at all. You and I can finish this interview and I can go downstairs and you could say goodbye to me and I could look across the street and see something that in 10 seconds I have to decide whether to take somebody's liberty or their life. Now that's a hell of a burden to be carrying around. I would like to have the person entrusted with that power to be as right within himself as you could possibly get one.
Go! Run!
Combat load 4 rounds.
In the midst of the discord over gay cops in San Francisco, a city obsessed by its police, the first recruits go into training. Among them, the official quotas of blacks, Asians, other minorities, and an undisclosed shadowy number of gays.
Go!
Already in this thin blue line, it's hard enough to tell man from woman, let alone anything else.
Hurry up! Volunteer, Joe. She doesn't know where the action release button is. Are you ready? Go! Run! Action open! Leave it open! Leave the action open!
The trainees are taught how to stay alive and, outside the local ballpark, how to handle those bullet-like police chases we all know and love.
Keep your speed up, make sure you don't have your foot on the brakes when you're going through these turns. As long as I can keep on their tail, right? Yeah, as long without as getting hurt. Yeah, as long as you can follow them without getting in any kind of a problem, you can get it made.
The prospect of homosexuals becoming police worries both sides. 2 lesbians and 2 gays, who so far have only applied to join, wonder how they'll be received, and even consider hiding their sexual preferences.
I'm not going in as a crusader, but if I don't hide my private life, the ones who didn't like me aren't going to like me anyway, and the ones who may be ambiguous may generally realize that we're just people.
You don't think it's the sheep going into the wolves' den?
There's going to be resistance. There are a lot of officers who do not like it. They do not want to accept it, and they're going to be very uncomfortable. I think it's a very much of a threat.
But as gays, you've already had a struggle for acceptance. Do you really want another fight on your hands?
Why not? We live in a society that I do not wish to hide from. I wish to get in and do something with and for. And being in the police department is one of the ways I think I can do that.
And today, police officer trainee 1042.
It's been months since we talked. If I can remember, I think I said to you, I'm a citizen of this society of San Francisco first, a woman next, and gay next. I'm not sure whether I told you that or whether that was in my mind. During that time, I know some of the questions got me thinking.
Now, what about your lesbian friends outside? Are you getting negative reactions? Do they think you've joined the enemy?
No, surprisingly. Some of the more right-on feminists are saying, oh, why do you wish to be part of that institutionalized, male chauvinist-dominated... Oh, yeah, some of them, you know, I tell them that the academy is kind of like high school male athletics, and it is. They encourage that same sort of rah-rah competition, and if you notice, my voice is lower than last time you saw me because I've been yelling a lot of, who are you? 1, 3, 5, sir! And a lot of yelling when we do riot stick training and stuff, and I'm a little hoarse. You know, and my hair's short, and I'm not wearing earrings, and I'm not wearing makeup, and I have short fingernails, but it's minor, sort of. A bar I go to, an unusual incident happened where a drunk woman was obnoxious, pursued someone. This someone said, no, thank you. She took a swing. Someone else interceded. She grabbed a glass, broke it, cut someone, and I thought, I don't care whether she's gay. That is irrelevant. She's being dangerous and unruly and inexcusable.
Of course, the majority of gays are not unruly and don't go out kissing on Castro. Lesbians in particular usually live quietly with chosen partners. Here, the two in the centre want to be cops. Sharon, on the left, lives with Marilyn, an unmarried solicitor specialising in divorce. And Stephanie, on the right, with Judy, a divorced social worker who has 2 children. So you're going in as a sort of crusader, are you?
Yes, I feel that way about myself.
Sharon?
You know, going on, I guess, with the crusade idea, I suppose, you know, part of my motivation is there, too.
I mean, can you see yourself walking down the street, swinging your baton with a gun on your hip, leaping out of a patrol car and separating a couple of drunks fighting up on Broadway?
Yeah, I can see myself doing that. Maybe not swinging the baton, but the rest of the image is there.
But it's a political statement rather than a vocation.
No, it's both.
It's both.
We're going to not only be having to face the hostility in the police department, there's also going to be the hostility among our sisters and brothers who are not, you know, any happier about what we're doing than the police are.
Marilyn, don't you think that for Sharon to become a cop is going to subject your relationship to new strains?
Absolutely. Just because I tend to be an 8 to 5 person, and as Judy mentioned, there are different hours, they work different shifts. I think there are more serious strains in the kind of work that she'll be dealing with.
June, you've been married, you've got 2 children, and you're really at the moment a 2-mother family.
Right now, we've told them, you know, when she's gone to the meetings and so on, they're very aware that she's going to be applying, that she has applied for the police force, and they're very supportive. They're 5 and 6, so they think it's wonderful.
They want a cop in the family.
Oh, they love it.
How long have you been together?
Almost 2 years.
2 years. Mm-hmm. Now, Sharon, how long have you 2 been together?
Almost 2 years.
2 years.
2 years as well?
Yeah.
But you have no children to
no.
Add to the headaches?
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
What, are you liable to, can you adopt?
Well, we're considering, the police officer program has leave of absence for pregnant officers, and we're considering that as a possibility at some point after probation. My having the children, probably, since that's one of the benefits of the job.
But to get down to practicalities, as a recruit, you're going to be on the graveyard shift from midnight till 8 in the morning for months.
Well, there's still some hours that, you know, we'll both be awake enough to relate to each other.
Usually she'll sleep during the day while at work.
That was several months ago, and today, Police Officer 1649 has got that job and its benefits. She was the first lesbian in the first academy class, which was chosen from 7,400 applicants. Now she's doing her 14 weeks field training, and after graduating will be on patrol, but on probation for a year. So I called on Sharon again, off duty, to ask if she still felt like a crusader.
No. Or, you know, I don't know that I'd use that term anymore.
You're not defending your brothers and sisters anymore.
I say that. I want the police force to change, I guess. I want to defend them in that sense. The police force, as I see it, have seen it on the outside, from the outside, is a very conservative force. There are people within my class that are open, that are more liberal, but for the most part, it's a fairly conservative group of people.
Yes, from being at a party with them, my feeling was that they have their cool together, so to speak, enough so that they're not going to ostracize us. And basically they were nice, but it was a very strange situation because they strike me as people who are not familiar with gay people. And we're accepted, but we're set aside in little boxes, and they don't have any real familiarity or contact with us. If you're a crusader, I think, at all, it's just letting these people realize that we are people, and when they start beating people's heads over it, they're not some strange foreign object, they're real people.
Right. I mean, they know I'm a lesbian, so, I mean, that was there, and they knew that I'd most likely bring my lover, so that was there, too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know how to describe what, you know, the interaction. It wasn't strained, but it was obvious that there wasn't a whole lot of comfort in our being there. You know, if they had a preference, they would have been much happier had I brought a male.
Now, what about your lesbian friends? How do they regard you now? Do they think you've joined the enemy?
No. They've been real accepting and real supportive. And, you know, real pleased to know a lesbian cop.
Will you find it easy to remain yourself when you take the uniform off?
I don't think so. I think I'm changing. You know, I think some real harsh realities are beginning to penetrate. The kinds of incidents and the kinds of crime that goes on is not done by very pleasant people, or people that really care a whole lot about hurting other people or about what they're doing, the kind of pain they inflict on other people. And it isn't the pleasantest pursuit, you know, to be dealing with them. In some ways, it is us and them. Because, you know, the only person out there on the street that's going to help you is going to be someone in blue. It's not going to be a citizen. If you're in trouble, you know, if you don't have a police backup, you're not going to be around tomorrow.
The fact that you're an open lesbian, I think they're very much aware of who you are, and they know who you are, and they're keeping an eye out on you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
Now, this business of becoming pregnant, this is still going to happen.
That hasn't changed. We're more definite about doing that, but that's far off in the future, at least another year
Really?
away, year and a half.
Now, I mean, who's going to be the mother?
He's the only one that has the maternity benefits. I'm not connected.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. Well, the next question has to be, who's going to be the father?
That hasn't been decided yet. There are plenty of volunteers.
Yeah,
that's not
true.
a problem
Yeah,
for
that's
us.
not a problem.
Can you see yourself as a police officer for the rest of your life?
I don't know. I don't know.
But you can see yourself as a pregnant lesbian police officer.
Yeah, and hopefully one who eventually has a child.
Stephanie has also made it. Today she's a police officer, but has no plans to get pregnant. Now, this is your first week on the beat.
Right.
And you're an upfront lesbian cop.
Right.
Now, how does it feel?
Feels good.
But is it worth all the anguish you've had making it?
Yes, it is. I was driving by on my beat, drove by large plate glass windows in a store, and I was riding as the passenger officer. And I looked over to my right and saw myself in my car, patrol car, marked unit, and it was like, it's finally happened. That's me. It's my reflection.
There goes the fuzz.
Right. I'm very pleased to be where I am. It's worth everything that I've gone through.
Now, you see, what is surprising to me is that I can remember you when 7 months ago, when you were trying to get in, you were a very aggressive lesbian. You were wearing super dyke T-shirts. You've got much more gentle now you're a cop.
Well, that depends.
I mean, you're not joining us, are you?
No. I feel that there are only certain people in my department right now that are aware of my sexual preference.
It doesn't mean that Super Dyke is putting one foot back into the closet.
Well, I suppose that some people, you know, some lesbians that I know are of that opinion. Well, for one thing, they don't even think that, you know, lesbians should be cops. However, most people can view it with a common sense attitude. The reason that I'm playing it down is to get through the academy and my probationary period, my FTO program, Field Training Officer program, with the least amount of resistance. And I don't want to get an officer who will be biased because he doesn't like queers or doesn't like gay people or lesbians and starts looking for all the negative points that he can find. I want an unbiased reporting of my performance. Some of the officers have bad attitudes toward minorities, including gays, and have an attitude of, you know, get them, get the fags and get the dykes. And of course, I don't have that attitude. I am a woman, I am a lesbian, and that identity, I will never let go of my identity and my ideals. I do realize my perspective in some cases concerning some things has changed. I have a very different awareness of what police officers have to deal with on the job and the stresses that we face, and they're incredible. And many people that I know, both in the general public and within my community, lesbian community, are not aware of what peace officers face. They don't know what it feels like at midnight when it's pitch black to go into an alley or to go into a home where there's, you know, something's been reported and you're scared.
You see, it's not on the face of it, a very feminine job to have anyway. So I suppose a lot of people will expect that any woman officer is going to be a lesbian.
Some people, I'm sure, have that attitude. In fact, another lesbian officer who was not out went through an academy, and toward the end of the academy came out to one of her fellow students, and his comment was, "I knew it. Any woman who wants to be a cop has either got to be crazy or a dyke."
Walking around with these big boots, the guns, the baton, the mace, it's about as feminine as being a wrestler.
Well, it's a little better than being a wrestler.
Now, last time we met, you were out of work, but you were happy with your lover, Judy.
Yes.
Now you've achieved your dream, you're a cop, and your home has broken up.
Right. It's a problem. My lover and I, Jude and I, had some problems. She also had 2 children, and that was a very difficult thing for me to deal with, to learn to live with children.
But the pressures of police work were something she couldn't deal with.
Yes.
But it's the classic case, you had to choose between your career or your lover. You've chosen your career.
Yes, I have. I'm not worth anything in a relationship if I'm not fulfilling my own needs.
Did she come to your passing out parade?
Yes, she did. She and the kids, all 3 came, and it was very good to have them there. It was painful. I wanted to spend some time afterward, all of us together, and she was not wanting to do that at that time. But the kids were very proud, and I was very proud, and it was real good to all be together.
The new chief has a name traditionally acceptable in police circles, Cornelius Patrick Murphy. After 28 years on the force, he must now preside over the introduction of gays.
A couple of them that have gone through one of the academy classes have dropped out. They just didn't feel that this was their cup of tea, so they voluntarily left the program. Bottom line, when they're all through with the recruit training at the academy and go through the FTO program, those individuals, be they gay or minority or women or bilinguals or whatever, they'll be judged on their professional ability to do the job and nothing else. So from the day that they walk into that police academy, they are treated as police recruits.
So does the appointment of a genial, blue-eyed, second-generation Irish cop mean that San Francisco is going back to its traditions, to its old attitudes towards recruiting of minorities?
Yeah, well, of course, you're talking about traditional values. We never recruited minorities in the past, but nevertheless, this is 1980, and we are doing that now.
Is the pendulum going to swing back away from liberalism?
Oh, sooner or later, the pendulum is always in motion, you know, and it gets over here, and then it comes back, and it's cyclic. You know, sooner or later, it's going to come back the other way. Maybe not during my time or your time, but sooner or later, times will change.
But you say that the new gay cops will be judged solely on their professional ability, but with all the publicity and all the inescapable animosity that does exist, is that possible?
I think so, yeah. I really and truly believe that, and I've talked to literally hundreds of officers in our police department about that issue. To any other departments that are out there listening now, get ready, because we may be the first, but you might be the second or third or fourth down the line, so you might as well get ready for it.
One of the new policemen San Francisco is getting ready for is Officer Ed, now 9 weeks into his training. He's gay, but to his fellow officers, he hasn't yet come out. Now, a few years ago, being a gay, you would not have been able to get in.
That's correct. If I had told them I was gay, they would have thought a million things, something wrong with me in some way. They wouldn't have given me a chance. They wouldn't have really have taken a look at me.
Well, now they've taken a look at you, and they obviously like you because you're in, you've made it. Why do you think you've made it and a number of other gays haven't made it in?
Possibly because I want to be a police officer maybe more than other people want to be.
It's not because you look more straight than a lot of other gays.
That could certainly be a factor.
Now, do you feel, Ed, that you're the token gay in your class, or are you in on merit?
Oh, no, no. See, no one knew I was gay when I came in. I know that because my background investigator told me that. I had to raise the question with him at one point, which I won't divulge. It was a matter that came up where my gayness, as far as he was concerned, didn't really matter. But for me to make my point, I had to tell him I was a gay. And he said at that moment, Ed, if you hadn't told me, I never would have known you were gay.
Aren't your loyalties going to be divided?
Between what and what?
Between your gay side and your official police butch side.
I hate that word, butch. No. Again, let's see, how are we going to answer this? When I'm in uniform, I'm a professional police officer. I am doing my job protecting the people of San Francisco.
Now, you're already sounding much more police than gay.
I am a police officer. Now, you're not asking me gay questions. You're asking me law enforcement questions. If you want me to sound like a homosexual, ask me questions that concern my homosexuality, and I can assure you I'll sound much more like a gay.
I suppose it's fair to say that most people don't have to defend their sexuality or put their sexuality on the line when they apply for a job. Have you found that you were doing that here in the police department?
At first I thought I was going to have to, but no, I haven't. They've asked me a lot of questions, but they haven't asked me who I sleep with.
Used to like morons, you know, change your ways.
Tonight, Officer Sharon, brand new lesbian cop, goes out on her very first patrol. Her partner's Officer Mary Ann, an experienced policewoman who seems positively heterosexual.
425 4th Street Community College.
On this big night for a rookie, I asked Sharon how she liked being a cop.
Well, it's not like TV, that's what you mean. And my expectations, I guess, come from TV, you know, that everything, you know, is shooting and all that other kind of stuff, and that's not what it's all about.
But what about the police harassment, harassing the gays all the time? And, you know, Marianne right here is one of those rednecks who's been leaning on the gays all the time. You know.
I have? Well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't come in contact with it yet, and, you know, hopefully there's not going to be as much of it. You know, I think the San Francisco PD has all types of police officers, and some of them are good and some of them are not so good.
Yeah. But how are they accepting you?
I really haven't had very much of a problem so far. You know, things have been relatively cool.
What's happening there?
Somebody was shot.
Somebody was shot?
Yeah, somebody was just shot. That's an ambulance you can hear coming.
Just now?
Yeah. Oh, about probably 10 minutes ago.
Now, you've accepted the fact, Sharon, have you, that you might get shot?
Yeah.
Like that somebody?
Yeah. It's
Are
part
you
of the risk.
reconciled to that?
Yeah, it's part of the risk. I don't know if you can ever be reconciled to that, you know. But it's a reality.
And there's a few hardheads that are never going to like you because you're a woman or because you're gay, but most of the guys are, you know, pretty reasonable as far as that's concerned, I think. It just takes a little bit of time, just like it took with the women and all the other minorities that have come in. Well, a lot of the guys, you know, gave the women a bad time at first, too, but you just got to laugh with them and hand it right back to them, and, you know, once they know they're really not getting to you, it's no big deal.
Now, as a recruit, are you finding it easier to get along with the other girls or with the men?
I haven't had difficulty in either area. You know, I've been able to relate to both men and women without too much difficulty.
Is the uniform going to change you?
I think it already has started to change me.
The San Francisco Police Department going calmly about one of the hardest jobs in the world, which is already affecting its first gay officers. And whatever their effect upon the police, between them they're surely showing us all the shape of police forces to come.